Hello and welcome to another episode of Mansfield Today. I'm Len Neary from NAG Magazine. Do check us out on nag.co.za for all the latest gaming and tech geek news. Today I brought with me Ryan McKay. He's the founder and CEO of the African Esports Association, and here to talk about the impacts of electronic sports in this country, in Africa and globally. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, Len.
It's a pleasure, man. Nice to see you.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I'm glad you shaved for today.
Yeah, well, I trimmed, if you can call that shaving. Yeah, so that it doesn't go out of control.
Ryan, some big things have happened lately in terms of electronic sport, and you being the founder of this organization. Can you tell us about the organization first and foremost?
Yeah, so the African Electronic Sport Association is a non-profit company that I founded in September 2018 with the mission and vision to grow the adoption and awareness of esports, and particularly also to expand on the definition of esports more than just what it's traditionally. If you had to Google it, it's traditionally just video gaming, professional competition of video games. We wanted to take it a step further and include things like robotics, competitive coding, online chess, and obviously drone racing too is up and coming. So we have a number of partners that we work with, and I thought it would be appropriate to change the narrative from traditionally just video gaming to something that is a little bit more fourth industrial revolution, something that speaks more towards education and how esports has a role to play in education.
Gamification, love that, Okay, so a parent is watching right now. What do you tell that parent about esports?
Well, there's a lot that I've learned over the years. I actually wrote about this on a article that I posted on LinkedIn some time back, and when I started to think about how does one explain it, and it actually speaks directly to parents, and I came down to sort of 8 points that I don't know if I will fully remember, but it's all there that I've put out. But the most important things is one needs to first understand and identify what is it that your child is playing. Secondly, you might find that there's absolutely no value other than just time wasting, antisocial behavior, and so on. So obviously balance really does come into play, and it comes down to the parent to identify what they believe balance should be. But things like, if you had to look at esport or gaming as anything else like a traditional sport, you would identify immediately if your child had some sort of talent with a soccer ball or a rugby ball or a tennis ball or a netball. The difference now is that the tools used in esports is a keyboard and mouse. You need to nurture and understand and get more involved. What games are they playing? Perhaps they have a talent in it. With the amount of hours that they perhaps are playing, there are things happening in the background that you have absolutely no idea what's actually going on. Things like cognitive development, computational thinking, social development skills, because now games are online and multiplayer, whereas back 20, 30 years ago, it was quite a, you're just sitting playing TV games and no one else matters.
Exclusive.
But now we're in this multiplayered, online connected social environment in the gaming world, and there are massive things that are happening cognitively inside that have massive roles to play in one's own self-development. Yeah.
So where do we fit in? Where do we slot into Africa as a continent and then globally in terms of esport?
Well,
and your association?
Sure. So, with the mission to grow the adoption and awareness, there are a number of things that I've really had to think about and iron out, and I had to ask myself the hard questions. For example, I never studied IT, yet I worked for one of the biggest IT companies in the world for 9 years. I owe myself getting that opportunity towards that career path because of gaming. I didn't study IT, but I know how to build a computer. I know how to put together a network. I know how to explain technology and understand technology, and I owe that all through what I like to say, learning through play. So esports, gaming, gamification has a massive role in one's digital development, and essentially that's where I believe esports has its strongest narrative, specifically within Africa. I don't believe that esports as this professional thing, everyone wants to become this, $1 million athlete, e-athlete. It's like any traditional sport. Not everyone is going to make it to the top. What happens if you do not make it to the top? You can go through the processes, and there are some amazing things upon that journey that one will learn from self-development and fitness and all of that jazz, and the people you meet along the way in that journey. Esports is the same thing, but I think one needs to take a realistic step and look at what is actually the value of esports. And I believe that the fourth industrial revolution, the jobs of the future, jobs that don't even exist yet, are going to be pulling from the network and pool of gamers out there. I like to say that the next, the Googles and the Intels and the Microsofts and the like of those technology companies are going to be looking towards gamers as their future employees, because they are out-the-box thinkers, they're creative, they're strategic, they're,
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. And your organization, how many countries are involved?
Officially 19 as of now. We've just had another 4, coming 5, that have come in the last 20 days. Okay. So we're going through the process of our due diligence and our policies and our processes to vet them, to make sure that they are recognized by their local sports and recreation, or the Ministry of Sport, whatever they call it locally. Once we have that and we have done our vetting process, we hope to be a 24 country continental body for esports for Africa.
Okay. And it's recognized internationally?
Very good question. Yeah, actually, recently, when I say recently...
ask good questions, Ryan.
I know you do. Thanks, Len. This is why I really appreciate it. You make this so easy. So yes, we are officially recognized as the African body for esports to the International Esport Federation, IESF. That's a massive feather in our cap, as well as the World Esports Consortium, WESCO. So we're well aligned. We've based our constitution also in alignment to theirs, because we believe that they have quite a robust constitution. However, we have certain nuances that are specific to Africa that we need to be, we need to keep as our own, which we've done. And as any constitution, it's strong, and not any constitution, but ours at least, we believe is strong. And there's always room for improvement. So that's another thing. So obviously, in time to come, it will be adapted. We will learn and build on. So it's a process, and it's not a race. This is a journey from 3.5 years where we had no one and just a dream. We're now sitting 3.5 years in with almost 23, 24 national federations under our wings.
So I'm a gamer at home. I've got a team, and I'm competing or I want to compete in a tournament.
Yeah.
How do I connect to your organization?
Well, we've recently just upgraded with a new feature on our website now for member applications. So if you go to a-esa.org, you'll find our member application forms there. We're not just accepting national federations, but we'd like to obviously have sporting teams or esports teams, organizations, multi-organizations. We're looking for partners, we're looking for suppliers. We're kind of welcoming for everyone, because it takes a village and we can't do this on our own. So you can go to our website and you can fill out a member application form. All the criteria and line items are there that you need to fill. Some are mandatory. And obviously we have contact details there, that if there are any further questions, or if you have any issues signing up or filling out the form, you can obviously contact us directly.
Okay, simple enough. Why? Why should little Johnny or little Sarah form part of the African Esports association?
So that's another great question. So, often what's asked is, what are the benefits? And this is something that I've contended with, especially when looking to the International Esports Federation and WESCO and any other federations that are out there, is what is the benefit? Usually everyone thinks we need money, right? Obviously, money makes the world go round. We are an operation. We have people behind everything. So they themselves are on a voluntary basis assisting. Where we would like to be, obviously, is completely self-sustaining through either donations, sponsorships, and so on. But those aren't just the benefits. So that's what we need. In terms of what benefits we provide, think of it this way. I know, because I've experienced it, where I've perhaps competed in a tournament and they've advertised a 20,000 Rand or a 15,000 Rand prize. I've often walked away from many tournaments not having received prizes, and what do? We can't complain to they're not an actual business or entity that exists, so we can't exactly sue them or take them to task or whatever the case is. So essentially what we want to provide is that standard, and we create this blanket sort of family of sorts, or built up with policies and structures and so on, that can then hold tournament organizers to account. However, it's not just the tournament organizers that we want to keep in check, it's also the players that we want to keep in check. For example, and anyone that is running a gaming organization or team knows the frustration and the pain, is that the turnover of players within teams they're changing their underwear every single week. How do you create consistency and build up a team? You've built a brand, and let's say you've got a sponsor in it, and you've given them the gamers everything, and then the next thing, so and so can offer them maybe a better gaming screen or extra shirts, or
They leave for
bigger. They leave for bigger things, even though it might, it might not be. But to them as a kid, instead of just getting a T-shirt, this organization now is offering paying them a salary, or giving them a keyboard, giving them a laptop or a desktop, all sponsored. That there is unhealthy, because then what it does is, one, it just destroys the soul. And I know I've had my soul destroyed a couple of times by my players.
Members leaving, yeah.
And members leaving outright just for something better, and the grass is seemingly greener on the other side. That destroys the small guys and the organizations and the teams. So what we want to do is we want to then also, through our association, either as a tournament organizer and or as a team owner or a team member, we want to have members aligned to us, because then through that policy, when you sign that code of conduct, we are going to be limiting how and when and they can do those kinds of things. Like one would call it transfer windows. We want to be able to help tournament organizers keep and team organizers consistent with and safe for themselves, because at the end of the day, the gamer thinks that this is all just fun and games. Meanwhile, there's a poor soul in the background that is fighting every day to put on things on social and build their brand and their dream of a multi-gaming organization, but then they get stumped by some 14-year-old kid that just hops from one team to another. So we want to kind of create a structure and a foundation where we're not going to make it that easy. And it might sound, well, why are you trying to control that? Well, for obvious reasons. Because one, for example, we have a number of betting companies out there, for example. Why is there betting on esports not where it is in Africa compared to the rest of the world? Well, because no one knows us. How do you back a team or an organization and or a tournament and league where the competitors and the players within that, have no history of them. You have no idea who they are.
Their individual rank and...
Their individual rank, their history as a player, their history as a team, their history as a league or tournament. Yeah. How does one generate odds based on that? So the reason why we haven't had the big betting agencies, your GG.bet and Betways and the likes, and casinos and whoever else, why haven't they invested in that? And that is a big, important thing to have. As whatever you may think of it personally about gambling and betting, I believe it is a form of entertainment. It needs to be regulated. It is. Esports is not there yet because there's no foundation to to build that on. So part of our job is also to create that safe, trusted foundation for private, public sector to invest into, because there is consistency and trust in that ecosystem.
Okay.
Right now, there's no trust in the ecosystem.
So basically, your organization is going to make sure that that team or that organization receives a rank, the individual receives a rank, that it then translates to a value of that individual player, coach as well, as well as the
coach,
team,
yeah.
And therefore a more structured ecosystem for everyone.
Yeah.
And
when you say everyone, not just gamers or tournament organizers, we're talking influencers and streamers. That is really up and coming. Like, where do you go to, like, you can be partnered with someone, but what is the value out of that? Is it fair? Are you getting your money's worth or your value's worth? That you're generating content for someone, and what are they giving back to you? Yeah, they put it on their website, but how many eyeballs? What is the, what's the value back and forth? It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
So we want to create standards also for the influencers, because it all connects as part of gaming, esports, that ecosystem. Influencers, the referees, and our bigger players locally as well as internationally in Africa, your tournament organizers there. How do we get them to also for them to get recognized, where perhaps we can use their tournament platforms, their reach, their community, what they're doing, and they're doing a great job, by the way. They've been doing a fantastic job. But we want to try and take that to the next level. How do we interconnect those tournaments, which are running in siloed structures at the moment?
It is, yeah.
As I suppose any new business, it's a young industry still. Esports is a young industry in South Africa and Africa as a whole. But how do we? You can run in your silos, but how do we, at the end of the day, interconnect? Because that is the key. And I'm hoping to create that trust and foundation as the key to connect the dots, so that you can keep doing what you're doing individually. Great. But how do we interconnect? Because they can't do it on their own. They won't. They're competitors. So how do we, as this agnostic organization, association, connect those dots where we are impartial and we set the same rules and standards for everyone else? We protect them as the next, their players, privacy policies, all of that jazz, terms of use. We want to make sure we create that consistent, trusted platform. And that's to come. It's still a conversation to be had. And maybe after this, we can have that conversation. So I look forward to that day, in fact, yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Yes.
How does your organisation connect to local government?
So, because we are a continental body, we're bound by, and it's founded in South Africa, so we're bound by our South African laws and our labour laws, which is perfectly fine. We have some robust labour laws and so on. So, and we're all aligned. We're fully transparent. We've been audited. Our books are up to date, and they're available on request, I suppose. So essentially, how we align to government is we don't just align to a government, we align to all governments. Essentially, and it's not just us, we play almost with the glue between all the national federations, who they themselves need to be aligned to their local government. They need to adhere to their local laws. So we ensure, and obviously there's things that we may have in our constitution that goes against a particular country or national federation's own laws, but that's where we can, there's no one size fits all. We get that. So what may apply in South Africa may be different in Namibia, may be different in Zimbabwe, may be different in Nigeria. That's fine. However, our constitution first is superseded, by the way, by our local government laws, first and foremost. That's just part of the Companies Act. And then obviously our constitution is what guides us. And if anything is inconsistent with our local laws, that supersedes our constitution, which we believe is fine, because our local laws are pretty robust and fair, and they're there for a reason. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, Ryan? I know I asked great questions, but I'm sure there's other questions that you'd hope that I had asked.
Len, you've asked all the
Don't
great
take 400
questions.
hours to answer this non-question.
No, look, can we edit this like later? Are we live? No, look, I just wanted to say, look, we're on a solid path. We're on a mission to change lives. We're on a mission to make a difference. We want to work with everyone. We believe we are working toward working with everyone. I think there might still be some skepticism out there. Happy to demystify any skepticism, answer any questions. Essentially, we're 3.5 years in and we're here to stay, and I believe we're on the right path to making that sort of difference, and we believe that our mission and vision is still on track.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Give us your website details again.
So the African Electronic Sports Association, you can either Google that. I think we're pretty good on our SEO right now, so that might come up top of page now. But you can find us at, I'm not even going to say www, but for the older generation out there, www.a- that's the dash, ESA, Africa hyphen Electronic Sport Association .org.
Okay.
a-esa.org.
Much better. I lost. Yeah. Hey, Ryan, thanks for coming into studio, man.
No, Len, thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the time.
Thanks, guys. Till next time, have a good one.
Thank you very much.